Testing. Hello. Whoops. What am I doing? With that size and that size. There is sound now. Hopefully. There is sound now. Dude, web designers are so consistently bad at making new styles that I just don't pay attention to that anymore. So-called flat design was the end of it. That was when I stopped taking web designers seriously. It was flat design, which is still kind of with us. It hasn't completely left yet. Wait for my annoying teapot to stop. Okay. Hello, everybody. This is the stream where I make a slideshow program because I don't like Microsoft PowerPoint or whatever the Apple one is. And I certainly don't like the horrible OpenOffice terrible things. So, and I want to make a program that works very differently from how any of those do anyway. So on this stream so far, I've been building the foundations of such a program. It's still relatively basic because until you start doing things that are interesting and different, you have to at least have the basics down and be able to do a whole slideshow. So that's what we're doing. And here's the to-do list so far. I don't even really remember what's on it. Yeah, I'm going to postpone this one till later because that's boring. Maybe I'll even do that off stream. Colored rectangles and polylines we might do today. We might do variables. Some people reminded me in email of some more things that probably need to go on the to-do list. So let me add some more things here. So the very sad fact is it's 2017, so we need stuff like prevent Windows notifications from popping up during a slideshow, and prevent screensaver from activating, and who knows what else. Who knows what else? But those are just some things that we're going to have to do. So does anyone have ideas? Because rectangles and polylines are going to be interesting, but also a little bit basic. But we kind of want those for the variables to make sense and so on. But before I start doing this stuff, anyone have any ideas for something that's missing that seems equally basic or equally required for a slideshow? Anyone? Anyone? Sorry, I ate too many candies. So someone says a screen where you see all the slides. Yeah, that's important. That's on the list. We're going to do that. But not quite yet, because I want to be able to, I feel like the first milestone is be able to give a slideshow at all, which we're getting very close to. We can now give a slideshow if it's only text and images, but we can't really do lines. So I'm going to do that. And then, how about a way to step through a slide? You mean step by step? I don't know if I like that very much. I feel like I would rather do, like, I think this questioner means the gimmick where there's like 5 lines on the screen and you advance, you make one new line appear every time. I don't feel like that's a good style of presentation, honestly. I don't like it. So which is not to say, I mean, I don't like it for presentations that I do. If other people want to do that, that's good, but it's not really a priority for me. Video, I don't think we're going to do. I think, like, even when I use PowerPoint, I always use an external video player because, I mean, we might do built-in video way later, but like, I don't even use built-in video in slideshow programs that supposedly support built-in video because there's too many problems. Yeah, so someone again suggesting showing all the slides. We're going to do showing all the slides. Does the drawing on slides thing on the to-do list mean that you draw during presentation or drawing something to permanently be embedded in the slide? I mean during presentation. I mean, maybe we can also let you save it on the slide, but I sort of feel like drawing with the mouse on the slides is a little bit of a messy thing, right? So I feel like it's more of a, you know, just to illustrate something or whatever, but who knows? It seems like it'd be useful to give the presenter the power to scale the slides using some simple keyboard input. Well, I can just go to the top of the slideshow file and change the aspect ratio right now. That just works. Although, yeah. So that whole problem that was happening there wouldn't happen, supposedly, already. How about math equations? That's way later. Late tech, no. Annotations and notes, yes. You know, I guess we don't have that on the to-do list. So ability to add notes to slides. So I'm breaking down what the subpoints of presenter mode are, right? So add notes to slides, show a separate display to presenter and audience, including notes. Well, let's put these as separate things. Notes previous, next, slides, timers, and so on. This is a very important thing, and you couldn't do it in PowerPoint for many years. They finally fixed that. So stupid. All right, that seems like enough talking and expanding the to-do list for now. So we can just start cranking. All right. So let's go to the slideshow file, which, as we said, is this set of simple commands that start with a colon, and then anything not with a colon is the text of the slide. And blank lines don't count. I feel like I'm going to try, because this isn't particularly readable to me, so I'm going to try at least breaking out the text and see if that helps. In reality, you would want a text highlight mode, you know, that puts the text in a different color. And you know what? That's probably good enough. So I'm not gonna really bother to go through. I'm just checking the file right now to make sure I didn't screw anything up. Yeah. Okay, so let's pick a slide. Let's make a blank slide at the beginning. Well, let's copy the slide with Steven Sausage Roll on it. And that's going to be the first slide now. So there we go. And let's put it in the upper left. And then I'm going to add some commands like, I don't know. So remember, we're using these coordinates where 0 is at the left and 100 is at the right or something. So I'm going to make a command. Well, first of all, I want to be able to make a colored rectangle. And maybe I want two versions of this, because sometimes you're thinking about the corner of the rectangle, and sometimes you're thinking about the center. Or sometimes you're thinking about absolute screen coordinates, right? And sometimes you want a thing of a certain width and height. So I'm going to say I'm going to give these really verbose names right now so as not to be confused. I'm going to say rect screen coords and this is going to have I guess it's going to be like image, where we fork out to a different command and you have all these options. So we're going to go rect screen coords 25, 25, right? That's going to be this corner. And then, well, 65, because it's 40 units. Well, 65 times the aspect ratio of the image, which we don't have multiplication yet. 16 over 9 times 65 is 115.55 by 65. Let's see how that comes out. And then we'll say border width 2, border color 1111. But the interior color is going to be let's say no red, half green, less than that blue. So it'll be kind of a dark cyanish color. So now our program's complaining, hey, I don't know what this command is, right? Let's make another version of rect that's relative. So we're going to say rect centered around, well, oh wait, never mind, this 25, 25 is going to be wrong because that's the center points of these things. So we'll say rect centered at 25, 25, and what was it? 16 divided by 9 times 40 is 71. So the width is going to be 71 and the height is going to be 40, right? So with this one it's center, width, height, and with this one it's x0, y0. But then we do all these. So, and the reason we want these is it's, you know, images we talk about centered right now. So if you want to think about something as being like an image, it's easier to refer to it this way. For this one, like, I don't really know what these coordinates come out to and stuff. So actually, I'm just going to make something up for this one. This one's going to be at 50. We're just going to say x is 55, y is going to be 55. Why not? We'll just see how that comes out. That might be grossly wrong. Okay. So now we need to go start programming the concept of a colored rectangle into our slides. And we know how to do that. We do it much like with an image, but we do, well, slide rectangle. Yeah. And it's got a position, and we're going to translate both of these kind of things into the same internal representation, right? And maybe by the time we get to a GUI editor, we'll get rid of one of these, right? Maybe these are just an artifact of working in the text file. Okay, so this is going to have a scale color. That's just what I tend to call that. Border width, border color. Oh, are we going to do rotation? I guess we're going to do rotation. Okay, wait. If we're going to do all this stuff, why don't I just have a rectangle? Because an image is just like a rectangle with an image in it, right? So I'm going to have this create an image, and just the image is going to be null. And if there's no image name, then we just draw a rectangle with all those other properties, and we'll be able to rotate and set the color and have the border and all that good stuff, right? And in fact, let's even get rid of this one for now, just to focus on this one. All right. So image does a bunch of parsing. I'm going to do it this way, because this makes it even less ambiguous what the numbers mean if I make another variant, right? Well, we can call this size, right? So what we're going to say is if it's image or rect centered, we do the same thing. And what was this called? This variable that we're switching off is called if command is equal to image, then we do this stuff. Image name is a string. Put an underscore there. This is just, yeah. Well, let's do this. Let's not be messy about it. All right, so basically, if we do an image or a rectangle, we go here, and if it's an image, we look for the name, otherwise we don't, right? And then we create a slide image, we go off, and then we parse image properties. Now, position is already in the image properties, size is not. So we're gonna start messing with that. Now you could also, as a side effect of this, right, you're going to be able to rotate rectangles, you're going to be able to use scale on them, so you could actually take an image command and turn it into a rectangle command, and it'll occupy the same space, which seems good to me. It seems real good to me. All right. So, parse image properties. Down here we say, well, position, scale, let's add size. And for now, let's just get it working and not worry about warning if you use the size or what. I guess we're going to let you use size now. So image.size is set is true. So we're going to use size to let you distort the image now if you want to, which you didn't used to be able to. I don't know why you would do that. It looks bad, but we're enabling it. All right, so now, so we have position, we have size is also a vector 2, and we have size is set, which is false. All right, now we go to draw these things. When we go to draw a slide image, we only right? We're going to declare the texture map ahead of time, and then we're going to say if item.imageName, then there's an image to look up. Otherwise, there isn't. So, if there's no map, well, where do we set the shader? Because we go to a different shader, set shader. There we go. So, if we have a texture map, we set to a shader that uses a texture and set the texture. Otherwise, we have a version that says no texture. All right. Now we're obviously using the texture map dimensions here. Where's that? Map. Map.width, map.height. Okay, so width, height, float, if map width height equals, whoops, width and height is map.width, map.height, right, else, well, if item.size is set, width height equals item size x, item size y, else log print draw slide image, and image was used, but a rectangle was used, but no image is set and no size is set. Of course, I don't have a way of telling you right now where in the file that came from, so that's a little bit unfortunate. Okay. Then down here we say height and width, and then look for other dereferences of map, which there aren't any. Okay. I don't know, maybe that's enough to make it work. Float versus integer. Right. We'll just do this for now. It's an autocast. Undeclared identifier remainder. Wow. Oh, because we put remainder in here. else remainder is RHS, because if we parse the name off, then the name's what's left. Otherwise, the name is the original string, which was passed in as RHS. Hey, okay. Well, you know, I seem to have calculated the wrong size. And also the color is weird. Unknown image property color. Okay, that explains that part. Oh, okay, sorry. Let me run it again. We called it scale color. We might later make an alias for that that's just color, but for now we'll just say scale color. Okay. This seems interesting. The part where we figure out borders maybe depends on images. Whoa. This is unexpected. Okay, I'm probably going into some of the other code. Wait, is this just totally scaling it up? Like if I say 16:9, it's totally scaling it up. This is one of those things when you retrofit the code and you don't look at it too carefully. Let's pick a nicer color here. I don't like this color. That's a little better. Let's get a little bit of red. All right. So why is it being scaled? Because, right, so the width and height are the texture map width and height. Right. So now why does a scale of anything other than bigger than 40? Oh, this is, okay, the border's there, it's just we're going off the edge of the screen. Because we're not setting a background color on this slide. This is why I have the red color. There we go. So you can see we're actually getting cut off because we're outside the edge. So that's good. So I actually don't mind this. So for the centered rectangle, yeah, we don't use explicit screen coordinates. And it's sort of made to be moved around, right, and whatever. So that seems all right. So I think the next thing is to do the screen coordinate version of it. Oh, and I'm going to call this aspect instead of size, because this one gets rescaled according to the scale, just like the image. So I'm just going to say aspect 16:9. All right. So now let's do, whoops, what did I call it? Rect screen coords. And for that one, because it explicitly uses screen coords, I'm going to forbid scaling and aspect ratios and stuff. So I'm going to say forbid relativity is command is rect screen coords, right? So then forbid relativity. It's just a way of catching errors. Like, you don't want to use properties that don't apply, right? If we make those invisibly fail, then it's just confusing when you try to use the thing. So aspect, right? So in this routine, we're going to have a forbid relativity that's a bool. So if forbid relativity attempt to use a low scale feature on a primitive that is in absolute coordinates or whatever. I don't know. I don't know how to say that. So aspect is like that. Scale is like that. UV scale is not like that. Rotation, yeah. Okay. So, let's make sure that compiles. Now, someone's asking, would it be interesting to maybe do an IM style thing that described the slides? No, everybody asked that. No. No. I mean, I realize everybody asks that because it's exciting to think about the slides just being a program, but you don't really want the slides to be a program because arbitrary programs are hard to reason about. And you want to be able to reason about slides and treat them as data, right? So as soon as you make your slideshow an arbitrary program, you can't reason about it anymore without solving the halting problem or what, you know, equivalently hard things, right? It's not a place, well, if you want to do that, cool. It's not a place that I want to go. For a generalized tool, for like a one-off slideshow, I might do that. Okay. So I just broke all my slides for some reason. Why did none of the images load? Seriously. Oh, because I didn't, all right. Do I not log? That? Oh, yeah, okay. Maybe I should think about a way to catch that error as a language feature. All right, so we've provided a command to express absolute coordinate rectangles, but I do not have a way to store that information. So we go here and using absolute coordinates is false. Okay. So well, I'm just going to call it pause one. So we have to have a way when we go back to the slideshow, right? I'm doing this pause whatever, and it's probably good to be consistent. So I'm going to say pause, and in this case it means the lower left corner, and I'm just going to say pause one. No, because the one is confusing because there's all these numbers. Other pause, I don't know. We're going to do that. Anyway. So we say other pause. And we're just, it's basically a paste job right here. The thing is, by the time you unpaste this and add enough parameters to like supply these couple of things, it's just as big or bigger. So, you know, you still explicitly codified a dependency that way, which is a good thing to do, but at this kind of level, I don't much care. Oh, color as well. Scale color. All right. So now we wouldn't see this in the right place. Oh, there we go. So a rectangle is used, but no image is set and no size is set, which is fine if we're using absolute coordinates. This is what happens in game code also. Like, the number of cases that you're handling slowly gets bigger over time and it gets more complicated. Okay. A rectangle was used, but no image is set and no size is set. Else, if not item.using absolute coordinates, right? Now, you know what? We're just going to be like this. We're going to reorder all this stuff. If we're using absolute coordinates, we do this stuff. Else we do this stuff. Ka-choom, ka-choom. And we don't need that thing that I just typed there. Right? Then if we're using absolute coordinates, actually, there we go. Otherwise, so corner is going to be we did that fixed aspect ratio thing. This is all in here. If we're using absolute coordinates, then we want to set P0, P1, P2, and P3. This was wrong. By saying corner is, vector 2 of item position x times render target width. I should do that in the same order as it is down here, actually, for consistently. Actually, it's exactly the same line. Corner, so corner 0, corner 1 is the same thing, but with position 1. Anyway, whatever, man. Okay, and then P0 is corner 0, P3 is corner 1, P1 is P0, but P1.x is corner 1.x, and then P2 is P3. Actually, this is P2. P3 is P2, but P3.x is P0.x. All right, so we've set our P0, 1, 2, 3. Okay. Because we don't set that value. There were several things I wanted to do. So when we say other pos, we want to do the opposite. We want to say, if we're not forbidding relativity, then attempt to use an absolute scale feature on a primitive that's in relative coordinates. All right. So we do this, and then image dot. No, we want the using absolute coordinates. Using absolute coordinates is forbid relativity. Okay, now it should go through our code path. Well, it's not complaining, but I also don't see it anywhere, which is tragic. Let me see if I put in reasonable numbers. $55.55 to $115.95, which probably goes off the screen in X. Well, let's just do some printf debugging. Ah, I did this. Come on, people. That's so amateur. All right, there we go. So that's pretty good. I guessed right on the height, but my width was not good. But I can start trimming that down. So we know actually if it's 5 from the center, then we want to go to 95, I guess. Yeah. So that is my absolute coordinates. And now let's use those to actually do something. So we're going to make another slide. It's also got Steven's sausage roll. But we're going to use screen coordinates. And we're going to say from 5.5 to 85.5. That doesn't look right. Oh no, because I hope it's complaining to me that my syntax is wrong. Yeah, unknown image property 85. So I'm picking the position, but I'm not saying other, whoops, other pos 85. There we go. So now that's of 0 height. So let's go like 7, right? Border width 0.1, 0.2. So that's clear. I'm going to go on the to-do. Ensure borders display at a constant width by claim. So what's going on here is, you know, the math is that there's the same number of fractions of a pixel on the top and bottom border, probably. But then a different, because the rectangle is also a fractional number of pixels high, the fraction of what the border is, the number of pixel centers encountered by the border is different on the top and bottom, right? If you're running at a higher resolution, that problem minimizes itself, right? So here you don't see it, but when we're small, you see it. Because, you know, if you're 8 pixels high, missing 1 is not that big of a deal, and we may not even be missing 1 here. Whereas if you're like 3 pixels high or 2 pixels high, missing 1 is a big deal. Okay. So I just wanted to like start making a graph. And we don't have variables yet, so that's going to be interesting, but let's pick a nicer color. Oh, the background's blue. Why is my background blue all of a sudden? Oh, because it's 5? Why did I? It's ridiculous. I don't know what colors to make things. Okay, let's make this one kind of greenish. And let's chill out the border color. All right. So that's going to be a rectangle, and then we're going to go 9 to 11, right? But to 65, and then we're going to do one from 13 to 15 to 91, and the colors here are going to be different. This one's going to be red. This one's going to be kind of yellow. No, let's do kind of purpley. All right, that's very ugly, but you see the point. And then let's sort of do, well, 4 to 6, 16. Make a black border, and the color of this will be kind of a lighter gray. Oh, we don't want to be at 4, we want to be at 12 to 14. There we go. And then I want to make another one of these at 35 to 37. Anyway, so I'm kind of approximating a chart that, you know, that I might want to make at some point. And then maybe I want these to be pointing at text labels, right? So maybe maybe I want that to come up higher and like put little texts here. Now the thing is, all these numbers were typed in by hand by me. And so as soon as I want to move anything, I'm now in for a very tedious retype all the numbers, which is horrible, right? Which is why I wanted to introduce variables, right? I wanted to find a variable that says, this is the left x, right? And then I can say left x here, and everyone will be at left x, and so forth. Now, let's put some text here. Justify left. It's been so long since I've made text. What do? We say text color. Oh, style my style, right? Size, okay. Okay, justify left, style my style, size 8. And we set y, right? Y is going to be, so just above these, if putting the text baseline just above these would be like 18.5, and we'll say this is a label for this weirdo graph. Oh, we don't say text. Right? I don't know why I don't see the text anywhere. is my Y command. Oh, Y is not in hundreds, which is weird. That's one of the reasons why I got so confused. Whoops. In previous. This is a label for this weirdo graph. All right, let's bring it up a little. And let's reduce the size. This is a label, and we're going to put those in different places. Margin. The margins aren't in hundreds either. What was I smoking? I've got to unify these in one way or another. So like this left coordinate is at 5, so I've got to convert that to 0.05, right? Where'd my justify go? Oh, 0.05 is where these start. I want it to start here, which is at 12, 0.12. And then I want the other one to start here, which is 0.35. There we go. So this is all fine. It's better than we had. Any questions about that? Because that's actually the last feature that I need, I think, to actually do the slideshow that I want to do here in the company. You know, we could do polylines or something. That's on the to-do list. I don't think I necessarily need that. So one way would be to do more like primitives like this, like polyline or whatever. Another way to go now would be, well, adding the variables, which actually I kind of want to do. But then after that, maybe stuff like, well, actually having a slideshow mode and stuff. Right? Like presenter mode might be the next thing even. Drawing on slides might be before. Cursor. Right, these things. Drawing on slides would probably be third. Are we planning on adding interactive elements? Yes. Hiding the cursor seems like a good quick feature. Yeah, I mean, that's going to be part of this whole thing. I don't think we're going to use the native Windows cursor at all. Even though in theory it's like hardware supported and it's slightly lower latency, we're going to have much better cursor interactivity ourselves, I think. Every time somebody asks why I'm using SVN, I die a little bit inside because it should be obvious. At least, like if you use Git and you don't understand all the problems that it has, then I don't know what to say about that. Enemy Mouse says zooming. You mean like zooming during an actual slideshow? I don't think I want to do that. I could understand zooming like while in a GUI editor, but we don't have a GUI editor yet. Why would you zoom during a presentation? I don't even mean that you need to read about SVN. You don't need to learn about SVN. You need to understand the parts of Git that are severely not good, not least of which is the frickin' interface. Log2 says hierarchical coordinate system, maybe, but you start to get that just with variables. Like, if I define variables and then you can say variable plus variable or variable plus constant, then you sort of have hierarchical coordinates anyway. Will I make my next presentations in the software? Yes, that is the whole point. Is that I wanted to do a presentation soon, and I just couldn't bear to use PowerPoint again. I couldn't do it. I would die inside. Okay, so let's start with variables, and I'm gonna go back to the thing that I just did, and to start, we're going to have global variables only, but we'll probably enable you to make variables per slide. So you can just say like x is whatever, and then not worry about that, right? So I could call this, I'm going to call this x0, right? And we're not going to attempt to do math yet. And the reason I'm using $, I could easily make this parse without the $. But in a simple command format like this, if you get confused about the number of arguments or whatever, I don't want it to say like unknown command x0, because it might take you longer. If that wasn't obviously a variable name, you might get confused, right? So I want to say like, hey, I was looking for a new command option here, but I got a variable, or you know, whatever. It's better error messages. And none of this matters. We're not going to rat hole on syntax simply because eventually this whole format's going to go away. This is all temporary. Right? So then by defining and adjusting x0, I could say, well, var x0 5, right? All variables are going to be floating point right now, kind of like JavaScript, except unlike JavaScript, we're not pretending to be a real programming language, so that's okay. We're eventually going to enable variables probably of scalar and vector 2 through 4, and those might be the only variable types, actually. Yeah, I don't know. Won't different coordinates for margins and positions make variables difficult? Yes, they will. But maybe I'll put in multiply, or maybe I'll just fix that stupid problem. I think fixing the stupid problem is probably the right thing, but maybe that'll be my motivation for putting in multiplication and stuff first. Yeah, JavaScript is basically the worst thing that has happened to computers ever, pretty much. Like when you multiply volume, right, how many things it's affected by how bad it is, it's so heinous. Like anything, even something 5% better, if JavaScript, when it had been created, was even 5% better, it would have had an enormous impact by now, right? Not to mention 5 times or 10 times better, which it easily could have been. Jerks. All right. So, oh, now this is a little bit interesting because I've said that later I want to be able to have vector variables. But I also want to be able to have scalar variables and use them both. So We're going to write this right now where anytime we go read a float, we could, yeah, it's interesting. I don't know. For positions, we probably don't really want to use vector variables actually, but for colors, we probably do. Maybe for colors, if you say a variable, it means the whole color. Maybe that's just like an exception, right? Because you want to do that. You want to set a border color to be a color of a certain name. So maybe I'll just say var or var color, and that'll be my hack. I don't know. But let us, yeah, they could even be in separate. I could do a really crappy thing and put them in separate namespaces, but I'm not going to do that. That's too lousy. That is too lousy. Even I will not do that. Yeah, let's just do this. Brutus. We ain't doing us. So we're going to have, for now, we're just going to map a table, make a table that maps to float, right? So this goes string to float, float. Later it might go to something else, but for now it just goes to float because we only have one kind of thing. So when we are doing this kind of stuff, we can say, did someone do a var? Okay, I'm going to say name value string is break by spaces, right? And then if we got no value string, attempt to declare variable whatever, but the value slot was empty, comma, name. Okay, well, parse float, no, string to float, is that what we called it? Yes. If not success, attempt, but we could not parse the value as a floating point number. Okay. Otherwise, well, previous value found is table find the variables table name. If found, then we complain. See, writing good software is just about finding the maximum number of ways to complain so that people know what the hell is going on. Attempt to redeclare this variable, right? Because it was already declared. Otherwise, table add variables table copy string of name and f. Okay, that's kind of it, except now we have to, well, let's make that run, right? And that shouldn't complain on the var, but it should complain when we try to use x0 by saying $x0, because it doesn't know what that means yet. Yeah. Oh, we could not parse the value as a floating point number. So I made a mistake. Let's see. If, oh, it's not RHS, it's value string. It's value string. Okay. So it didn't complain about that, but it's saying unable to parse x coordinate of image placement on lines 93 to 95, which if you go to the show, those are exactly the lines where I use the $x0. So let us now well, since the only thing that we do is string to float right now, then we need to be able to look up variables in there. So if the first character is a $, then we say look up variable or whatever. Now the problem is that string to float only takes the string right now. So what we're going to do is go, oh, right, string to float is like a library routine. So we're going to make an overload of that takes a slideshow. Right, so if value string sub 0 is equal to, well, let me go make sure I return the same types. String to float is here. I'm more in the habit of putting parens around the return list. Okay. Oops. Whoops, I'm making all kinds of typos. All right, so we take the same thing and we return the same thing. If return, okay. So if this is equal to a $, do some stuff, right? Which is going to just be, oh man, Emacs is, oh, don't do this to me. Emacs. Let me see if visiting the file fixes it. No, oh no. Let me try this. I don't know, man. No. Oh. Oh, it's the $sign that's confusing it? No. There we go. Something about $signs in quotes is confusing the Emacs indentation mode thing. All right. So if the value string is that, we do print we got a variable. Do I have a version of advanced? Oh, it's still confused. Else. This is so bad. Else, well, we just say result success remainder is string to float of value string, and not all control paths return a value. Oh, right. I wanted float. Oh, this is a float, right? Not a string. Not a string. Okay, we don't have an advance. Oh, we do have an advance by value, but yeah. Can we tell how many characters? Okay, so let's do that. Didn't work. Oh, because I didn't, right, I got to pass, I got to call this version of string to float. And I'm just going to do, I'm not going to do a search and replace because I mean, the slideshow is called different things in different routines, which is still maybe not good. Here it's called Oh, we don't have it. So we're going to have to deal with that. You know, there's a temptation to make it a global variable, and it's like, no, I'm not going to do that, buddy. Not going to do that. Okay, here we have it. Okay, now it's going to complain that I didn't pass the slideshow to whatever routine that was. Yeah, I mean, it's not a good error message, but that's what it's saying. So the slideshow here is called show. So show, and line 216. Results, and okay, we got a variable blah, we got a variable blah, we got a variable blah. Okay, so we got a variable. We want to say rest is this. Name remainder is break by spaces, value string, or rest. So now we're just going to return 0 for every variable. So that appears to work. So our lines are starting at the left hand of the slide. So now the next step is just to look it up. So we say result comma found is table find show.variables table and name. If found, no, if not found, error handler attempt to use undeclared variable, whatever, comma name, else do nothing. All right. For some reason the indentation fixed, no, it didn't fix itself. Ah, all right. Yeah. Undeclared, oh, I don't have the handler. Oh no. All right. Do this again. String to float. But this is easier to float result handler, and we'll replace to float of show to float of show handler. I hope it's always called handler. Hey, it loaded it, right? And check this out. Called my.show. Var x0, let's make it 9. Hey, it starts later. Let's make it 1. Hey, let's make it 3. 5. Yay. Okay. Any questions about what just happened there? Is this an instance whereby a thread context would help? Having to pass so many values is kind of annoying. Thoughts? Well, if it's only for that one routine, not really. But as the call hierarchy starts getting deeper, then yeah, I might want the text file handler in a thread context. It's just C++ makes that too annoying to bother with. But in my own language, I would do that, I guess. And I'm just not in the habit of thinking of that as a solution because I'm used to C++. But here it's viable, yeah. So we'll think about that. Like right now, I don't think it's worth it yet, or it's just, you know, when you add something to the context, it's a global concern now. I don't know how else to say it. But yeah, maybe we'll do that. Maybe that'll be a fun way. I mean, actually, certainly what is the current slideshow should be in the context no matter what, right? Like why, that's a good, thank you for asking that question, because part of what I'm trying to do is use the new language and get used to it. So it's like, put the current slideshow into the context row. All right, so now for variables, let's do math operations and yeah, math operations and maybe parentheses, who knows. Sean did say maybe. I don't know what he's saying maybe about. Something about software quality that goes back pretty far in chat. If you add a variable and delete a variable, does the variable remain in the table? If you then use the same names as the software complain, there is no deleting a variable. There's no, I have only added a way to declare a variable, and they're all global right now. Like I said, we may do per slide variables, but we don't have that yet. So, and there's no way to delete a variable. When you edit the file, it recreates the entire slideshow from scratch, so there's not going to be an old variable. There's no concept of deletion right now. Do I have an include directive so you can make the slide in multiple files? Well, I have a thing where you use another slide. I don't have a way of loading multiple files yet, but that's going to come later because I want to have like a global slide database of things I can go to if I think of them. But that's going to come after a lot of these other things. Because I want to do a good job at like one linear presentation before I start building up a database of long-term stuff. Okay. Let's do some math operations, right? So, here we go. So right now, when in our string to float here, we just assume everything up to the next space is a variable name, but now we want to do math on our stuff. So let's make the example of what we want to do next. So remember all our bars, if I run this program again, you know, all our bars are the same height. So, you know, I want to at least make a height variable, right? But then there's also this interleaving amount of space is also the same distance for each one. So if I go to my slideshow and say, where's my $x stuff? I'm going to say there's a variable called h, which is the height of the bars, which is 2. Right. So now we've reduced the number of unique numbers, but these numbers still have to match, so that's annoying. Right. But we can go y0 is 5, right? And then this is y0 and y0 plus h. And this is y0 plus h plus, we'll call m the margin, right? That's 1. or is the margin is 2. So you notice I'm destroying the visuals while I'm doing this because it doesn't understand the plus, right? I guess the margin is 2, it doesn't really matter. Right, and then this is y0 plus, whoops, plus m, and this is y0 plus h plus m plus h, and so forth, right? And then I can say, just if I want a shorthand for this, I could say this should work, var y2, because remember for this right-hand side, we're just calling string to float on this. So if string to float parses these expressions, we should be able to do this, right? And then we'll just say y2, and then y2 plus h, right? So now it totally has no idea what's going on. We've super confused it, but we will make this work. So I'm just going to decide what's in a variable name, right? What's in a valid identifier, and that's just going to be you know, the usual things. So let's write that. Instead of saying break by spaces, well, we're going to cram the whole expression together without spaces. So instead of name, we're going to call it expression, right? And then name rest of expression is get variable name expression. We'll pass the handler, I guess. I don't know. And then if no name, then we complain. Unable to parse variable expression, comma. Okay. Oh, and then we return. So we get the name, we get the rest of the expression. And we're going to ignore the rest of the expression right now. We're just going to write get variable name and make it work. So all those pluses are not going to do anything, but we should at least get something sane again, right? So get variable name is going to be not a pointer. And this is a string, and we return a string, and we will say I don't know, cursor. I'm going to do it like I often don't know whether I should think about things in terms of strings or integers, so we're just going to do this while cursor is less than s.count. If is, I'm not even going to make a starts identifier versus continues identifier. We could do that later. If it's not an identifier character, s sub cursor, then, well, we're going to say we're returning the name and the remainder. So if we found a character that's not an identifier character, then we return whatever that is. Otherwise, the whole thing is just the name. If we get to the end of the string and we don't find a non-identifier character, we return S and no remainder, right? So here we say, well, remainder is S. I don't think I have a thing that advances a string and gives us both. I probably do. I'm trying to do this in the trick way. It's a really simple thing. Let me look at my advance. So, yeah, I don't really have much to do this. So we're going to advance remainder by cursor, right? And st is s, or name is s, and name dot count is cursor, right? So we return name remainder. There's probably a much nicer way to do that. I should make an advanced 2 or something that does this. All right, I don't know. I feel like I forgot something. Semicolon expected. Because it's return, not return. Return statement is missing argument result. On line 826. Yes. Return 0, false, and remainder. Same here. Is identifier character. Did I not? Oh, I didn't define that. Well, if, I don't like writing big conjunctions of ands and ors, so I'm just going to do this. If c is greater than or equal to a, and c is less than or equal to z, return true. Oh yeah, this is a bool, right? We'll do the uppercase. Whether something is an identifier character, when you start doing Unicode and stuff, gets really messy. So, whatever. Now, we're only going to be asking if something is an identifier character. We're only going to be asking if something's an identifier character if we saw a $sign. So, we don't have to worry about accidentally getting floating point numbers here. Oh, damn it, I keep thinking I'm in C++, so I don't feel like character literals are important enough to make the syntax super brief, so I do this in the hopes that I can use single quote to better use, and there is a different meaning for single quote in this language right now, but I'm not sure if that's what it's going to end up. Let's see what happens. Well, it's infinite looping, that's what happens. Because I never incremented cursor. I hope somebody caught that, chat. All right, well, it's a rectangle of some particular size. Let's, just by way of debugging, after we call get variable name, variable, whatever, rest of expression, whatever. I think this is working because we didn't complain of any undeclared identifiers, but let's just make sure that we got something there. Okay, x0, y0, x0, right, plus h plus m, blah, 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 blah. that all appears to be working, except I'm returning false sometimes because it's saying unable to parse the y coordinate, right? So that's weird. Why am I returning false sometimes? Let's make sure that that's what it really is. So when we say unable to parse y coordinate, yeah, we're calling string to float. We're calling the right version of string to float. Let's just make sure that string is not wacky going in. So old remainder is remainder. String was whatever. Old remainder. Wait, did I not compile? Unable to parse y coordinate of image. Oh, this is a different error message. Well, of image other pause. Old string was whatever. Isn't it great that we did this thing where we check for this now? So good. All right. String was, oh. Right, well, we're not eating spaces, so that. Wait, break by spaces should. Oh, get variable name doesn't, right. So once we find a non-identifier character, we'll say eat spaces of remainder, because that's how we do it. It didn't work. Interesting. Why didn't it work? I'm being paranoid that I didn't compile. Let's go look at the line. Line 96. Okay, I see what the problem is. The problem is, I believe, that we want to eat spaces here. For some reason, and I'm not going to think about it too much right now. But, you know, we check the first character to see if it's $sign. So if we get something with spaces in here, then, you know, we'll say, oh, it's not a $sign, and then we won't go into our variable parsing. Now, why exactly that's happening, well, I don't know, but I don't want to worry about it. Okay, so this looks good. So we're saying we got a variable, and then the rest of expression with these pluses and so forth. And the H's, the Y's are probably all coming out the same because they're Y0 plus whatever, which is why these bars aren't appearing. It's probably because they're all height 0. So now that we got stuck on that for a bit, let's finish. Now, next time, we're probably going to do arbitrary expressions. But what we're going to do, so let's put that in the to-do list. Plus, minus, times, and divide, but we're going to do plus right now because that's the one that we're using, right? So, if rest of expression so if it's a plus, else we complain. We'll leave this print in here for now. We complain unable to parse expression, whatever, right? Rest of expression. Otherwise, right, so here we say, this is if that, then we say new sub-expression is advance rest of expression by 1. So that's like just get us past the plus, right? And then, RHS value oh, this is interesting. So we actually want to do this afterward. So we have the value in result. And then we look at the rest of the expression. If it's a plus, we do a sub-expression, and we say sub-result, success, remainder. No, not remainder. Sub-remainder are string to float of the show handler sub-expression. So here's your little recursion action that you learn in college, right? So we call string to float on that, and now sub-remainder, well, first if there's no success, then do nothing. We should have reported an error, so don't do that here. In the compiler, I have a thing that says assert that we reported an error, but I don't want to rat hole on that yet unless this becomes a problem. We do have a partial result, so we'll return that at this time, but then false and remainder, right? So if we have a sub-remainder, that means we failed to parse the whole expression for some reason. That may just be buggy code because we already broke by spaces and stuff, so everything after the expression is handled. So, so we say error handler chunk at end of expression sub remainder, and that might end up being a redundant error message. But result plus equals sub result. Hey, look, don't you like it when it works the first time? So we go into my.show and we'll say margin is 4, and now they're more spaced out, and margin is 9, and margin is 0.5, margin is 2, right? H is 82, 8, 2. So that's good. And you know what? Like, it's so much easier now that we've done this to do plus, minus, and times. We'll do divide later. And in fact, I'll put in make sure these work, test, etc. Divide, you have to check for 0, so I'm not going to do that because I want to get to the end of the stream. But we'll do plus, minus, and times. Right, so going to say C is rest of expressions of 0. So if C is equal to plus, or C is equal to minus, or C is equal to times, we do this stuff. If C is equal to case plus minus times and the default, right, is assert false, we should not get here. C is above. So if it's plus, well, result plus equals sub-result. If it's minus, you know, this is where this is going. Now, we're not doing operator precedence right now. It's just doing these from left to right. So we could talk about maybe how to do that next time. Let me put that. But let's do the following. Let's compile that first of all. Let's make sure it still works on the slide. Okay, and then we'll say, now the interesting thing is, because of the way we parse this, these only work if the variable's on the left right now. So make math operations parse if you start with a constant, e.g. 2 times 3 or 2 $x. Right now you have to say $x times 2 because we don't look for a rest of expression yet. That should be a relatively simple thing. We'll say the margin is, we'll start with $h, right? So that's the same. So the margin is 2 and h is 2. How about plus 1? Hey, how about times 0.5? Hey, how about times 5? Yeah, times 5 plus 3. Maybe that didn't work. Plus 30. That didn't work. Well, it's going to be hard to debug with this. Oh, times 5 plus 30. Oh, geez. Yeah. The way that I'm doing this makes things happen in the wrong order, I think. When you do recursion, you got to do it right, and I didn't do it right. Question is, am I too tired to think about it and fix it? So what I'm doing is, okay, we call string to float again, which is going to do the sub expression. So oh, no, that's not the problem. That's not the problem. The problem is just like I said, you have to have a variable. So times 5, because of what we'll fix next time, times 5 plus 30 doesn't work because it'll only do one constant passive variable right now. So I can go var z 5, and I can go this, and that'll work, right? Yeah. So there you go. That will be an interesting parsing thing that we do next time. But anyway, if anyone has curiosity about how you like parse a programming language or something, that's kind of the beginning of it. Like, this is not a very sophisticated expression parser because it's approximately the dumbest possible one. And it has problems like not doing precedence and requiring you to have a string of variables. But like I said, we'll get to that next time. Does anybody have questions right now? If this is all temporary, why not do prefix syntax? Because I don't like prefix syntax. I think about things in terms of infix expressions, and regardless of what Scheme or Lisp people will tell you, it's not very much harder to program parsing of infix expressions than it is to do prefix with parentheses. Like, the amount of extra complexity that is negligible. It's epsilon compared to the total complexity of your program. So just do it. How do I handle errors in the parser? Or if you see how I handle errors, I report errors. I just type in that there's an error. How do I feel about tech? I haven't used tech since the 1990s. Why is the president able to make threats on Twitter and the rest of us don't? I had plenty of, well, not exactly threats, but I had an interesting time on Twitter for the past couple days. Plenty of people are not afraid to be belligerent on that medium. How do I parse TTFs? Well, I think I'm using STB TrueType right now, if Sean is still on. Get a mouse pad for your mic. Dude, my mic is under a towel, or on top of a towel right now. It's not enough. It doesn't help. So, whatever. Yes, my office is super echoey. We'll see what to do about that. Does the interpreter send errors, or is there a prepass? You mean on the Slideshow program? You guys have seen what I do. There's not an interpreter. It's just parsing things to make data structures. There's like not, it's a simple, translation. There isn't an interpreter per se, exactly. I believe I verified that I'm using STB TrueType, but we can look right now. We can just go, oh no, I'm still using FreeType. Never mind. So maybe instead of upgrading to I tried to upgrade to FreeType 2.8, and they changed the API in some way that I was looking at it, and I was like, I don't understand what to do now, and it's hard to search for documentation, and I have other things to do. So I reverted. I was unable to upgrade. Maybe I'll try again sometime, or maybe I'll just switch it to STB TrueType. I think the reason we didn't go with STB TrueType before, well, part of it was that I was porting over witness code to here, and we already had TrueType integration, or FreeType integration. And we're going to use harfbuzz, and I don't know how hard that is to make that work with STB TrueType. I don't know if the thing about hinting at small font sizes is still an issue or not, etc. Do I like FreeType? I don't totally love the API, but it's all right. I mean, it's one of these libraries that does the job and does it, I have no complaints about the way it does the job. It's not written by these modern C++ crazy people, so that's a plus. And, it's all right. Sean says, harfbuzz shouldn't be a problem. We're doing it with Iggy too. Hopefully we'll turn Fabian's code into a lib to make it easier to hook everything up and do some stuff not covered by the libs, bidirectionality mainly. Yeah, I mean, I had to do bidirectionality for shipping the witness, and you can imagine I did the hackiest, simplest version. Like, I did bidirectionality that would handle only what we put in our subtitles and stuff, right? So there are probably cases in my code that would generate garbage output, or not garbage, but things appearing in the wrong order in bidirectional text. But it was good enough to ship a game that has made millions of dollars, so that's fine. And we'll probably do that on the Sokoban game. I'll probably port the thing is I forked off this code before I did the harfbuzz integration on the witness, so I have to like reintegrate it. But then I'll get better kerning and all that too, because harfbuzz does kerning. You don't like the slideshow taking away programming time from the compiler? How far along would I say slideshow is? Well, look, man, people got to do stuff to blow off steam sometimes, right? Like, one thing that I learned is I like doing side projects, especially if they're small to medium size, and it's a way to like regain energy while still practicing programming and improving my quality of life in other dimensions. So if I was making a PowerPoint slideshow right now, in order to make a presentation to my company, I would be sad about that. But I'm not sad about this. So come on, man. I mean, one thing that you learn as you work on big projects is you have to manage your motivation. And that's part of what this is. It's taking a little break from bigger, harder projects like the compiler, while also getting the job done on the compiler in a different way, like we're testing out the language and slightly refining the code that's eventually going to get turned into part of the standard library and all this stuff, right? We have another program now to test, to make sure regressions don't happen when we change the compiler, and all these things. Like there are ways in which this is work on the compiler that you may not realize at first. When are me and Elon hanging out to discuss the Boring Company? Dude, Elon is way too busy to hang out with me and discuss things I don't know anything about. Yeah, as someone says, most of the battle on projects which are a passion, as Monkia says, is keeping yourself happy while working on it. That's totally true. Will Sokoban come out before the compiler or alongside it? It's going to be after, I'm pretty sure, because games just take a long time, right? I mean, hopefully we'll release a stripped down version of it that's just like, hey, here's a game with a guy pushing around blocks, right? As a sample program that people get. And then the slideshow will be a simpler sample program, because it's not like, a game engine with all kinds of crazy game engine 3D stuff in it, right? It's like a 2D slideshow. And that's easier for people to understand in a lot of ways, right? And then we'll have an even simpler program that's like, this is opening a window in OpenGL and drawing a triangle on the screen, right? So we'll have all those things. And actually another reason why I did this was sort of to remind me, like, yeah, it's still a pain in the butt to do what you need to do to like get OpenGL started and opening a window. So what can we do, like library-wise or something, to just give you a framework that's just that, like a program, like so libraries, right, are code that gets distributed with the compiler or that other people make, that's leaf routines or APIs that you call into, right? But I'm thinking of having something called pastables that's just like, this is a whole program that you could start with, and you just copy it or whatever, and then you modify it. And having one of those, it's like, this is just, it doesn't even have sound, it just opens a window and draws graphics in OpenGL, I think would be useful. Nobody else has access to the compiler right now but the people working on it. But we're sort of shifting to a phase, we'll have more to announce about this soon, but we're shifting to a phase where it's a little more about now shaking out all the bugs and getting it ready for a limited circle release. That said, there's still a couple big features to do that I haven't done yet, but yeah, things are going forward on that front. Did I check out the OpenAI project debuted at the TI today? It beat the best mid players in 1v1s with some limitations. I only heard very vaguely that happened. I did not get a look at it. That said, I'm skeptical of this kind of thing. Like, I don't know what the inputs are. I doubt that it was playing Dota by looking at the screen. Maybe it was. I'm sure these details are available, right? I mean, it was probably being fed data structures and all that. And there's big issues of reaction time in Dota and all that. So who knows? Like, I don't know. I haven't seen enough to know whether it constitutes an actual real advancement like AlphaGo does, or whether it's like, you know, of course, if you write a program to play the game, it's going to be better, you know. I can't tell you, so I'll be interested to look at it. Any plans for a demo soon? Not totally soon, because we're working on other stuff for the next 2 weeks in a very serious way, so I won't have time to do compiler things for a couple weeks at least. So the reason I can do something like this right now is because this is relatively light programming. It's not difficult, and if I do something that's a little more complicated in here than it should be, it's not that serious, right? Whereas if I do something that's more complicated than it should be in the compiler, then it'll probably generate a lot of extra bugs, and it has a more serious cost down the road. So I try to work on the compiler when I have real concentration, right? Why make a pastable of boilerplate code instead of providing higher level library functions? Because code reuse in that way is a little bit of a myth. Sometimes you just need to be able to edit stuff. And you can't edit like a library function that's in a read-only file that you're not supposed to play with. And if it's not built to be modified, like that's another thing. Building things to be modifiable is a thing. Can I talk about what my company is working on at all? No, I mean, no. We'll have things to announce when we have things to announce. We're working on a slideshow program, though. Did you hear that? It shows slides of games like Steven Sausage Roll and The Witness and Braid. Did you know those were games? And Good Snowman is hard to build. And all these things. All right. Thank you for coming. I may do a gaming stream in about 10 or 15 minutes after a short break. Next time, we'll make the variable expression parser a little bit better. And then, I don't know, what are we going to do after that? We'll do variables, and I don't think that'll take the whole time, unless I get unlucky or get confused or work while I'm tired, which I often do. Maybe we'll start doing this presenter mode stuff. Or the cursor stuff. You know, we'll do the cursor. That's before presenter mode, right? Okay. Thanks everybody for coming. See you guys later.